Welcome to Really Cool Stuff for the Home podcast, sponsored by Homeworks. And now with today's show on all the ways to improve your home is your host, Denise Sanchez.
Hi, everybody. This is Denise from Homeworks, Really Cool Stuff for the Home, where we'd love to bring you products that will make your homework better for you. And we have another segment with Jeff Polucci. He is with Miele. He is a national sales trainer for the U.S. And he's been, how long has it been, Jeff, now that you've been with them again, with Miele?
I'm approaching 24 years.
24 years. So he is very, very, very smart, and he's a lot of fun. But we're going to talk about one of my favorite things that I like to consume. It's coffee. At night, Jeff, when I'm getting ready to fall asleep, I think about my coffee first thing in the morning. I love my coffee. I need my coffee. I can't see well, I can't think well, I can't talk well until I have my coffee. So I love talking about this. And Miele has some fabulous, fabulous machines for coffee. In fact, I think that they're the first ones that did the built-in coffee system. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, when it comes to residential built-in coffee, it didn't exist before we built ours. Yeah, I remember when it came out, and when we first saw the late-stage prototypes of this machine, our jaws hit the floor because there was nothing else like it. There was nothing else like it. And that was more than 20 years ago. Right.
And, I remember when I was drinking coffee, in my younger days, I would get the instant. First I started with instant, and then I started with the drip coffees. But once you go through the espresso method, like the gourmet coffee shops have, there is no turning back. I don't know, as a nation, we were really deprived of good quality coffee. But now with all these gourmet coffee shops springing up everywhere, we've been educated. So that is one thing. And, there's a lot of misunderstandings, too. On the espresso method, which is what Miele has and they're built in, it's not espresso, it's espresso. Can you kind of elaborate a little bit about that method?
Yeah, a lot of people think espresso is a type of coffee. It's not. It's a method of preparation. And espresso is an Italian word which basically means fast, okay? So the idea is that your bean remains whole until the moment of preparation. And at the moment of preparation, it is ground, it is compressed, it is then exposed to high temperature, high pressure water. And then what comes out of the other end is the resulting coffee that makes it into your cup. How densely you grind and how tightly you compress and how hard you press the water through it determines what comes out of that bean. Interestingly enough, you can take the same bean and make a huge variety of different drinks, changing the temperature, changing the flavor, changing even the amount of caffeine, just by the way you change the preparation with the same bean.
And volume of water. Something as simple as volume of water.
Absolutely.
You can go from an espresso, a little shot of something, all the way up to a full Americano, right? And have a completely different taste. And we have Miele has some amazing machines. They're beautiful to look at. They're about 24 inches wide, and I think they're 17 inches tall, and they can be built in. And the programming on these things are amazing. They have what they call the Sensortronic, where it's a touch, and then they have that M-tronic, which is where it's kind of like your smartphone. I love this. People's eyes always get wide when they see it. You walk up there and you kind of do that swish, like the smartphones, and it allows you to pick the different types of coffees. And there are tons of different types of coffees. Can you kind of expand on how their electronics work?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the one that you were just talking about, the one that you swipe like your touch phone, that is called M-Touch, and it is a TFT type of screen. It is exactly the same family of technologies as you find on your most advanced iPhones, okay? The difference is that our electronics are made in such a way, and remember, we make our own electronics, which is rare, okay? But they're made in such a way that they will not fail over a 20-year period. That's unheard of. You know how people replace their smartphones every 2 or 3 years?
Exactly.
Okay? And a lot of times after that second or third year, it doesn't really respond that well to your finger. Well, Ours don't lose that. So you'd find that even at 15, 16, 18, 20 years, that screen is going to be the same level of responsiveness. And that's unheard of. So it is a TFT screen. It is a durable 20-year TFT screen. And the nice thing about it is that it's so intuitive and easy to read and easy to use. It just leads you right through doing whatever you want to do to drive that machine.
And further to that is the one thing that I think Miele has over everybody else. The fact that they do their own electronics. A lot of customers will say that usually when they go to buy, appliances, they may look at the top of the line with all the fancy electronics, but maybe buy underneath that because they're worried that the electronics are the very thing that's going to go bad. And with Miele, that's not the case at all. Their electronics have gotten even simpler and better, but really and truly, they're the first in the world that came out with computer electronics for washers, dryers, and dishwashers. And I think it was in the 70s, right? That's how long they've been doing this.
It was. I mean, we realized very early on, and a lot of manufacturers have to make this choice, and many of them don't. But we made the choice early on that we knew that electronics were going to take over the mechanical timers that were out there. But we had to make the choice as to whether or not we wanted to build it or source it, okay? And it was a lot easier to source it because there were companies out there that were focusing on electronics. This is so rare, we decided to actually not only make our own, but build our own electronics manufacturing plant. And so we don't just make our own boards and chips. We actually do our own programming. So we are actually fully electronically trained as well, not just mechanically trained.
And I know some of the neat things that you can do with these programs. So the machine will tell you when to put water in it. It will tell you when to add beans in it. It will tell you when to empty the trash container out. It will tell you when to descale it, which is automatic, but it tells you when it's time to do it. It even gives me a 50 count, a 50 cup countdown. And of course, me, I wait till I'm like 1. And I hear this a lot for customers.
You're not the only one, Denise.
I know.
You're not the only one.
Dadgummit. But it's also easy. It really makes it very easy. And then also, too, what I love is, so they have manufacturer defaults on the programming, but you can override that. So say you have, you're doing a macchiato, let's say. So it gives you a shot of steamed milk and a shot of foam milk, I think it is, and drops a shot of espresso, and it comes out beautifully. But you can alter the amount of the water, the milk, to whatever you want. And you can set that, or you can do a favorite. Maybe you have a certain cup that you like and you want it filled to the brim with a regular coffee. And you can do that. So there's so many things that you can do with the programming. That's really, really neat.
Well, that's actually, you just hit on something. That is why it's called a coffee system instead of a coffee pot. I mean, if you think about it, a coffee pot is going to hold 6, 8, 10 cups of the same liquid, whereas a coffee system is going to make your specifically designed drink at the touch of a button.
Right.
Anytime you want it, 24/7.
Right.
It's just an entirely different animal, yet, you can dial it in. I mean, and if you think about it, you could make exactly the same coffees that you're spending $5 for at Starbucks.
Exactly.
And it costs about 8 cents in the machine.
Yeah.
And yet it's exactly the same thing. It's pretty impressive.
I've actually had people take the pencil and do the math, and and say, okay, if I bought this many cups of coffee, and I went to the gourmet coffee shop, I could have this machine and pay for itself in the first year. I mean, it's amazing how much coffee, especially if you're not just an occasional, but, like me, I used to drive by the coffee shop every morning and get my cup of coffee, and it was $5 or $6, right, for my coffee. And now I don't do that. And I no longer have to wait in lines, too, which is maddening when you're on your way to work. But they also have they have the built-ins where you put your water in the carafe, and you put your beans, you put like a whole package of beans inside the bean container, so that as you're taking the coffee, it grinds it per cup. But they also have plumbed models, which I'm seeing more and more people gravitating towards because it just makes one less step that you have to do. That's pretty interesting as well. So how does that work?
Well, the plum version, it's interesting. The plum version does not have a drain, okay? It's just a supply. And that's because you're actually consuming the water.
Exactly.
Anything that comes out when you finish filling the cup is going to go into the drip tray. And of course, they'll tell you when to empty the drip tray. And from experience, it's very easy to empty that drip
exactly.
tray. Right? But it is really nice, however, to not have to fill. I can tell you from personal experience, I've been in a situation where I've gone to make my first cup of coffee in the morning and I run out of water. And it's like, wait a minute, my brain's not on yet, and you expect me to put water in this thing? So, having that water supply really is a nice thing. Yeah.
It really is. And then they have these fabulous countertops. It used to be when people would come in years ago and they fell in love with the Miele coffee machine, and then maybe for whatever reason they couldn't build it in because it definitely is a built-in product. It had nowhere to go. So we brought in other brands of machines that were countertops. Well, then Miele got smart, and they made some great coffee machines that are countertop.
Yep.
And we found that their machines not only were just as good at producing a great cup of coffee, but they were actually giving us more features for the buck than the competitors, coffee machines. So now we no longer carry anybody else's but Miele's. And they have 3 different models, and they're just capacity and some features, but they make a beautiful... Another thing, too, is I always tell people this. When I make just a shot of espresso or just a regular coffee, it is really hard to get a real nice crema or that foam, that hazelnut, foam.
Yes.
It's hard to do when you have just a shot of espresso because there's not much volume. But it's beautiful, and people go, "Is that milk? Is that cream?" Oh no, that's an indication of a perfectly brewed cup of coffee. You have to have enough pressurized steam behind it to be able to do that, right?
Yeah, that's a great point. I can tell you that professional baristas, when they look at our single shot espressos, they are amazed to see a 1/4-inch crema on top of it, and that has everything to do with the grind density and the compression pressure. And of course, we are masters at this. We know exactly what we're doing. One of my favorite things to do, Denise, is to put a single shot of espresso in a single shot clear glass.
Oh yes, to really show it off. Yeah,
because then you can watch it separate, right? You can watch the coffee falling through the oxygen in the coffee, and they go to 2 perfect levels. One crema on top, beautiful black espresso on the bottom, and you can watch it separate for about 30 seconds before you drink it. And by the way, the true test is whether or not the crema will hold sugar.
Oh, really?
So take like half a teaspoon of sugar and sprinkle it on the crema, and it will sit there for several seconds before it sinks through. That's the test, and we do it every time.
Okay, I did not know that. Learn something new every day. Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah, for my customers that are drinking espresso, they love that. They love that. And then another fun fact I found is I hear espresso instead of espresso. I also hear cappuccino. You hear that a lot instead of cappuccino. And I found out that the cappuccino is Cappuccino. It's named after the Capuchin monks. And the reason is in the 1600s because their robes look like the color of the crema on the top of with the milk from the Capuchin monks. I thought that was kind of interesting. Wow. You learn something new every day.
I know a lot about coffee beans, but I never knew that. That's pretty interesting.
Isn't that interesting? That's
interesting, yeah.
Yeah, I always wondered where they came from, and then also it was cappuccino. Well, where's that from? And everyone always says cappuccino, C-U-P instead of C-A-P. And then another thing, too, is that they started, just like everything else, with their dishwashers and their washers, they've always brought in cleaning products because a lot of the cleaning products out aren't very good, and so it doesn't make their machines look as good. Well, in the same vein, Miele got smart, and they started making their own beans. And at first I thought, it's pretty cool that they do the cleaning products, but I don't know about this bean business. And I liked a certain brand of bean. It's called Miele. And in fact, they used to kind of be a partner with Miele. It was a very good bean. I was kind of stuck on it. But then y'all came out with your bean. And there were some interesting things about it. but it's very good, and I sell quite a bit of it. Customers like it, and I understand that the reason for this is because they wanted, people to have a good bean in their coffee machine, because if you get a crummy bean, it's not going to perform, you're not going to get a good result. So that's interesting. So what have you heard about their thinking about this process?
Well, it's kind of like you would never put lousy gasoline in a Corvette, right? Mm-hmm. So you can't make good coffee with a bad bean. Mm-hmm. And so for a long time we had a partnership with Illy. Illy is a fantastic bean. They make a beautiful bean. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot to it. I mean, if you really want to get the most consistent flavoring with beans, they have to be grown in a certain environment at a certain altitude. They have to be harvested by hand, not by machine. They have to be dried on concrete, not on dirt. And they have to be roasted in a certain way at a certain temperature for a certain duration, so that you dry the bean, but you don't burn the bean, right? Mm-hmm. And so this process, we decided that, okay, it's the exact same reason that we make our own detergents, right? It has really nothing to do with selling detergents as much as it has to do with finding a way to produce perfect results.
Exactly.
Right? Mm-hmm. Well, same thing with coffee. The better your beans are, and we now own 2 orchards in South America, okay? Mm-hmm. So this process, okay, if you have a perfect bean-making process and a machine that can grind and compress and flood as perfectly as we know how, then you're going to get the best coffee you can drink, or at least, something that is so compelling that you'd find it hard to get coffee anywhere else.
And saying that, they're very reasonably priced. I was very surprised. But listen to this, okay, to my listening audience. This is crazy. This is how some of the beans are. Okay, so they have one that is Miele Black Edition Espresso. That I love that Black Edition. It's intense taste with spicy chocolate note. That's amazing. and it's like a wine offering. Here's another one. Let's see. I like this one. This is One for All, the Black Edition One for All. Whole coffee beans roasted in Germany, full body flavor with a subtle fruity note. And then the one I like the best, because I do a lot of, let's see, what is this one? Oh, this is mine. I like the Black Edition Cafe Crema. And this one, lightly balanced aroma with floral fruitiness. I love that. They're awesome, and I think that the most popular one really seems to be the espresso one. I think that people like that. Yeah. The black. Everyone's, I think, they're used to that one, and so kind of got hooked on that one.
Well, you got to remember. I mean, there are coffee beans and there are espresso beans. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. And espresso beans are not the same, right? Espresso beans are cultivated to release their flavor upon compression, okay? Right. Whereas coffee beans, not so much. You'd find that you probably get more flavor out of a coffee bean in a percolator or a drip machine because the exposure to water is so much longer. Mm-hmm. But with an espresso bean, that bean's got to release its flavor just like that. And so that's why there's a difference.
Another thing, too, is that the milk drinks. A lot of people like milk drinks, and it's such a pain, to take your little stainless steel milk carafe and, sit there and keep foaming. Yes. With all the Miele products, it sits in the same position, and you just push a button, and you tell it you want hot froth milk or you want hot steam milk. So if you wanted to do just a regular coffee and you just want to put regular hot milk in there, you can, without moving the coffee machine or having to sit there and do that right, like the baristas do. Yep. Or like you're doing a cappuccino or you're doing a macchiato or whatever, it will dispense the milk at the right time and dispense the ground coffee at the right time. And the macchiato looks gorgeous. We always show that in the glass coffee mugs because you can see the hot froth milk, hot steam milk, and then when you drop that espresso, you got those 3 different layers. It's beautiful. And even that milk, it stands up. It doesn't dissipate into the coffee right away. No. It's there. It's beautiful.
It's there.
And you know what the big rage is? the big rage right now is I had one of my other reps tell me, we were talking about the coffee machine, and she said, she says, have you heard about the chocolate bombs? This is the best thing for this coffee. Have you heard about it? Okay, I never heard about that. Okay, what she does is, and y'all, I'm going to tell you about it, but what I understand, there is none to be had at this time. Everyone's found out about them, and they're all gone. Even at Costco, you can't get them. But it's a chocolate ball, and it's got a marshmallow and cocoa inside of it. And what you do is you put it in a cup and you put hot milk on it, and then it kind of opens up and dissolves into this wonderful chocolate bomb drink, right?
They usually use Lindt truffles, and there's all kinds of truffles for that. And you can do it in milk, you can do it in espresso,
right?
You can do it in anything. But we do these in demos all the time, and it is to die for. I'll just warn you, if you've not had one,
I haven't.
Walk away. Don't try it. Just leave it alone, because you will never.
I never heard about this. I feel like I was so clueless, so out of the loop. I said, how did I not hear about this? I am a chocolate fiend, and then with coffee to boot, I can't believe I haven't heard this. Oh my God!
Oh, it's ridiculous.
And we've had some events at our store, and maybe it's really, really hot and in the afternoon. Well, it's not just for regular coffee drinks. Imagine taking a scoop of ice cream in a beautiful glass coffee cup, and then you put a shot of espresso into that, and then drizzle a little bit of chocolate on it. People think they died, have gone to heaven, because it's so good. So many different things that you can do. And then just hot chocolate for the kids. You can fill that milk carafe up and fill it with the chocolate milk, and you can make a chocolate coffee, or you can just make hot chocolate. But it's kind of like Grandma used to make, when she would froth up the milk really good. So that's pretty cool too. And
when we first came out with the built-in coffees, you remember we had that frother on it.
Yes, you had to go shh.
And I remember that, and we discovered pretty quickly that while it was a very appealing thing here, right? You could make your own, professional coffees at home. Nobody wanted to.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. In other words, this actually takes too much work, and that's why we developed that whole one touch, and you get everything right off the bat. So now it doesn't get any easier than we have it now.
And also, too, especially the last couple of models, it's much easier to clean, because milk is a food. It's not, you could have some issues if you don't maintain it, but it forces you to do that. It tells you when to clean the milk pipe work, and you even have cleaning products to aid in that. So that makes it, and again, you have to descale the machines, but it's so easy. I mean, if I can do it, I may be last minute Jane waiting till the one, more cup and I'm done, but it's very, very easy to do. Another feature
I'll tell you on that point right there, the cleaning process, you have no idea how much work we have done to make that process easy, because, coffee machines are naturally, they're kind of messy, okay? But the process of cleaning these machines, I mean, with the exception of the brew unit, everything in the machine is dishwasher safe. It doesn't get any easier than that, right? So it really is astonishing how easy the countertop versions and the built-in versions are to maintain, descale, and clean. Ridiculously easy.
Another thing I wanted to address, and this is on all conical burr grinders, whenever you take a coffee bean and you put it into a grinder, you don't want to put a bean that has a lot of flavorings added or sugars, because they gum up your grinder. Even when you go to like the gourmet coffee shops, you hear people say, I want 1 shot of vanilla or 2 shots of this or whatever. And that's because even they do not use beans that are heavily flavored and have sugars. No. And I don't even know why they offer these out there, knowing that it's going to ruin your grinders.
Well, they most of the people that are going to get beans like that, they grind them in a blade grinder first, and then put the grinds into some type of drip or French press or something like that. But you would never want to put a sugar-coated bean into any type of burr grinder, because it will turn it into glue.
Right.
and the whole thing will turn into it'll actually jam up on you.
Right, exactly.
It'll stop.
Yes, I've had customers from time to time that would call in with that problem, and we'll ask them right away, have you changed your bean? No. Are you sure? Well, I did do this one time, or they'll say, yeah, I've changed it. Is it a lot of flavorings in it? And they'll look at it, yeah, it's got this, it's got that. I said, well, that's what it is, But you can go to like your grocery store and you can actually get the same type of flavorings that you can get at a gourmet shop. Seriously, the almond flavors, the vanillas, all those kind of shots. And it actually tastes better, I think, than if you had it into your bean. I think it's more, you just get a stronger flavoring of that. And but that's the one big thing that we do see out there as a problematic, if they use an inappropriate bean. And also, too, what about all these different types of milk? So I find that the 2% milk, that's what all the gourmet shops use, is 2% milk, is the best for doing your frothing and steaming of milk. What have you found?
That's actually not true. Whole milk is the best because the higher the fat content, the stronger the foam is. Mm-hmm. You'll find the foam is much thicker and much firmer.
Okay.
2% is just a nice compromise, right? There's less milk fat, but they're not as thin as if you put, skim milk.
Which you get nothing.
Right? Right. Well, skim milk, the foam just dissipates very quickly. So 2% is a nice compromise. But I can tell you from experience and from knowledge that whole milk, especially if you did you really want to be healthy about it, drink whole grass-fed milk, right? With a whole, 4% milk fat, and that'll make just the most beautiful foam you've ever seen.
Okay, well, I'm changing mine right away. So what about like the almond milks and the soy milks? What say you about that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can do that. I got no problem with that. But something you said earlier is key. Adding your flavoring after the coffee is made is absolutely the way to do it.
Right.
Okay? Because you're adding true flavor to something that's already been made. If you try to mix it during the preparation process, you will block some of the flavor extraction from the grinds. Don't ruin that process.
Exactly. And another neat feature that all of these have is that they have a hot water spout. And that's really handy. It's great for cup of noodles, on the fly, and it's also teas or packaged drinks. It's really handy. So you've got this neat machine that does all these neat things. I can't even tell you all the different coffees that it will do, or that you can invent yourself on these, with programming. And they're pretty machines too. They're very good looking. I think they're the best looking machines out there, and they're well priced. Nice. They really are, and they last for a long, long time. I've had my countertop machine for several years now, and I don't know what I would do without mine. I really don't. And I can't tell you how many important gifts, milestone gifts I've given the coffee machine, the countertop machines. But, when I remodel my kitchen, I am going to do a built-in because it is nice having that built-in application, right? And it's
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree. I've had both for a long time. I agree.
Yeah. So I happen to know that there are some things coming down. Are you able to divulge any of the new things that are coming down for the Miele coffee machines? You're not. Okay, never mind.
Well, no, I can tell you that I know of the next generation, and all I can say is if you are impressed at all with what you see now, the next generation is going to blow your mind.
Is it some of the stuff I saw at KBiz last year?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Okay. That's the Kitchen and Bath Industry Show, y'all, where we get to see all the new things that come out. It's held once a year in either Orlando or Las Vegas. So they get to show off all the new things coming down. But mum's the word, evidently. But yes, these machines are awesome.
The problem is, when we expose these things too early.
Yeah.
Right? People are like, well, I want that right now.
Yeah.
And, we're not in full production yet, but I can tell you again that as good as our machines currently are, and they really are the best. I mean,
they are.
There There are things that we do with our compression system that nobody else does. You can actually run the same beans through multiple machines, and ours will taste the best. That is no lie. That is the truth. But the next generation will make that capability even more impressive. I promise you. Very nice machines coming.
Well, I've seen a couple of little hints, so I know that you are telling the truth, as always. Miele has this thing, immer besser, which means forever better. So they're always coming up with something, and they're amazing. They don't stop with what's good. They just keep going for greatness, and making things better. And they have, from the dishwashers to the washer dryers. Oh my goodness, their washers and dryers are amazing. Their dishwasher, everything. I can't wait to talk about their ovens in one of the next segments. And that's 30 minutes have flown by, Jeff, flown by with you. It just flies by.
It always does.
You have so much information, and I find it so interesting. Oh, another thing, too. I think this is really important because the beans that you all produce are certified fair trade and organic.
Yes.
That is very, very impressive. And as always, everybody, I'm Denise Sanchez with Homeworks, and go to homeworkssa.com or MieleUSA.com. They have a wonderful website, and they have videos and show all the details of their machines and their offerings and their beans. But I hope you buy everything through homeworkssa.com, where we have all the models in our showroom, and they're live, so you can see what they're all about and see the impressive, crema that we're talking about. And I also carry the coffee beans as well. I love them.
Have you opened up your own drive-through yet?
No, but I could. But I could, yes. And Jeff, as always, thank you so much. You can see why at Homeworks we can make your homework better for you with great products like this, the Miele coffee system.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you for having me, Denise.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Oh, my sister.